Hey everyone, Syed here. Today I'm talking with Mick Griffin, Chief Growth Officer at Traffit, and one of the most experienced sales and growth leaders in Poland, somebody I highly respect. So Mick has had a wild journey, started as a professional rugby league player in the UK, transitioned to sales and ended up in Poland, building Brand 24's global sales operation from the ground up as their first CRO. He then founded Pipeline Summit, somewhere that I actually spoke, the first sales-focused event here in Poland, and now he's a board member and a CGO at Traffit, a role that he describes as the co-founder who showed up 6 years late. We'll dig into that in just a minute. You're also a TEDx speaker, Mick, strategic advisor to LiveSpace. You're also a co-host of Alpaca in the Room podcast, something I want to dig into deeper. And in your words, you and your co-host, talk about things before you think them. So that's perfect. Your LinkedIn headline pretty much says it all: dad, trying to do cool stuff so I can spend more time being a dad. We're going to dig into everything here, GTM, building in Poland, and pretty much everything all around it. So, Mick, thanks for being here.
Oh, the pleasure is mine. Said thank you so much for the invite. We have so many good conversations offline that are not recorded, so
Yeah.
I have high hopes for today. And thank you for such a warm introduction. Yeah, when people say it out loud, it sounds a little bit crazy, but hopefully
Yeah,
I'll add some context to those topics today. But super happy to be here as always, buddy.
absolutely. It's a good reminder to have, no, though, like to be able to see it. I was watching Jon Stewart's. He was getting an award for 25 or 30 years in comedy, and it doesn't seem like much because you know him as a comedian, but the fact that your whole life's played out, your professional life in front of you, and you get to see pretty much the accolades you've collected and pretty everything you've done. It is humbling, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean it's crazy, and I mean every day is a different day, right? Some days you're looking back, and then some days you're looking how much time is ahead, and then you're also in the middle of that whole journey as well. But no, I mean it is, and you get to a crazy phase where there are certain things that you forgot about, or they're not in your daily mindset anymore. But also what I can say, again, it may be off topic for today, but what's also nice to see is how things also progress without you sometimes. I've been
Hmm.
involved in some very, very cool organizations, and when those journeys end, it's also nice to see that those organizations don't fall apart. That everyone moves on, everything's okay, kind of thing. So, but when you're in the heat of the moment, and especially when I was younger, you used to think a little bit different about those things. But no, it's I'm only happy of the journey, and yeah, hopefully it's not finished, but yeah, we can we can dig into a little bit of that today for sure.
Absolutely. I mean, your journey is it's pretty crazy. It's not a traditional one per se. Like me, I started in sales and kind of like grew in
Hmm.
sales from there. Yours is completely different. You were a professional rugby player that later on transitioned into a sales leader here in Poland. I guess I want to ask you a little bit about that beginning because
Yeah.
for me, as I look at it, you went from a rugby player into sales, into marketing, and doing a little bit of everything right now, considering your role at Traffit. Did fear not play a role? If it did, how did you combat it? How did you overcome it?
It's a great question. I mean, maybe the interesting thing when I look back now over like this 25 odd years from start to finish kind of thing is, ironically, even though on paper some things are radically different from trying to be a professional sports player to going into sales, like you said, and marketing and so on, there's definitely a little bit of crossover, which I'm super happy about. There's some skill set, some experience crossover that's paying off in all those different fields as well. But there's also, I think, the thing for me as well is um, sometimes not having a plan was also helpful. So like just for people who are listening that, I haven't had the pleasure of meeting yet. Like, so when I was 15, I was playing rugby, still in the high school in the UK, etc. And the thing that people don't understand is they always think as well as about like someone being a professional sportsman. It's like Tiger Woods was, riding the scale from being 6 years old, etc. It actually wasn't even my story. At 14, I was classed as an average player playing, junior rugby, and something happened at 15 where I got a bit lucky and kind of went through the representative levels all the way up to playing for Great Britain in 1 year, from playing no rep sport to going all the way through being professional. So the plan also wasn't to be a professional rugby player all my life kind of thing. I enjoyed it very much, But there's something to be said, yeah. When I came out of rugby at like 19, 20, and I didn't have a degree, I didn't have a plan, um, and you just basically took whatever job was on the market right at the time. And it was one of those things where, we were looking around. I had all my friends were in university and they had their career plan. I had no idea what I wanted to do. And then you were like, okay, well, what jobs can I do with
Right.
nothing? Yeah, and it turned out that, oh yeah, well,
It's,
you can be a salesperson.
uh,
Can you talk? Do you have, do you have the ability to dial a phone? And I was like, okay, let's try. So it wasn't the plan. Moving to Poland wasn't the plan. Being
mm,
in the tech startups wasn't the plan. And sometimes I actually think, I mean, obviously that we talked about this, some of it was scary a little bit, and I'm definitely talking some of those specifics, but the flip side was I wasn't being forced to follow a path that I decided 10 years before. And I think that's helped me a lot. You pick a degree at university at 19 years old, and I think so many of us go, well, I have to do that now. I have to have jobs in that
right.
field now because I did a degree. At 19, and I didn't really know anything about who I was or what I wanted to be. I'm now, 40 years old in the field of my degree. And how many of us are in that field because we were supposed to be versus because we picked that degree when we were younger? So I think I've always been lucky that multiple opportunities were in front of me because I wasn't being railroaded into a certain field. And now being the age and the experience that I am, what's really nice is I've learned through all those periods of where I actually should be, where I feel I fit the most in teams and so on.
Right. 100%. Yeah. But I mean, folks I know for a fact they feel like they're locked in. Even, I mean, if you go to LinkedIn, you're looking for a job, the only
Mhm.
recommendations are going to show up are the titles that you've worked for,
Yep.
and they feel like it's impossible. But I mean, you've done that yourself, and you've done that if I successfully, going in from one over to sales over to marketing, and you're doing a hell of a job. So it is naturally anytime you want, you can go ahead and make that change. It's not like something you're
Yep.
locked in. 19 years old, what do you know, right? So much is going to change,
And
or your thinking is going to change. So
yeah, and the funny thing is like there's certain very, I mean, I think that sales and marketing are very psychological, and I think they always have been.
mm,
I think
yeah,
you talked about this recently on LinkedIn post that, we're always trying to reinvent something just to make
yeah,
ourselves feel like we've got more product to sell, that more courses to buy. But there's so many things in sales and marketing and in life in general that are just basic fundamentals. Can you read a human being? Do you know what they are saying? And I was thinking about this today, which, that difference of, when you meet a person for the first time, do you say like, sir or madam, or are you like, hey buddy, hey friend, how you doing? And,
yeah,
for me, a lot of sales and marketing and things like that, and it's making those gut choices in milliseconds and seconds, not
yeah,
having it. So, and that was something, even the thing that carries with me through rugby is that, I was thinking to myself, that I've said this a few times to my team that, one, I don't have a lot of skill sets. It's not my way. But I can think quite quickly, and I feel quite confident to make quick decisions on, like I said, how am I going to introduce
yeah,
myself? What am I going to do? And I was thinking, how do I do that? And then I thought back to rugby. I was like, well, hey, listen, there were so many times where I would catch a ball, and within a second and a half, 150-kilo guy wanted to knock my head off.
yeah,
And so I had to make, quick choices through,
right,
self-preservation. And I was like, oh,
yeah,
maybe that's where it came from. Maybe that
yeah.
that 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 speed of thought came from the fact that I was in sport. So I think there's a lot of crossover, which is just super interesting for me to kind of analyze and look at sometimes.
100%. One of the things that when I look at your LinkedIn, I talk to you, the sense that I get a lot of it, and I've spoken to a lot of folks that worked with you or have worked with you in the past, is culture. And one of the favorite, like it's a quote that I love is culture eats strategy for breakfast. And I think a few days ago, you had one of your folks from Traffit leave the company after 7 or 8 years. You
Yep.
went ahead and changed the profile picture. There was a lot of, I would say that was like the best way to go ahead and make sure that you tell an employee, hey, man, thank you for everything that you've offered to this company, and we wish you all the best in your next journey, your next role. Do you agree with that statement? Do you feel that culture plays a major role?
I mean, yeah, I mean, I mean, absolutely. And I would, the funny, there's two sides to it completely. But the first, I would say, what comes first, and that is maybe we can call this a culture or a mindset, which I really like, and is like there's a really rebellious side of my brain, and the people that I work with, hopefully, and stuff, where you have to go to people and you have to remind them that there's no rules. There is no rules. Like, someone is leaving the company, like Anika left Traffit recently, and she was like, you get to think to yourself, like, well, what's a good way of, like, making sure that she feels appreciated, and
Right.
making her feel powerful. And then the next thing you have to tell yourself is there's no rules.
Mm.
You can, if you Googled it, there would be 50 answers of, okay, make sure the person gets it, maybe a cake or maybe this. But what you have to remind yourself in is it can be however you want it to be. And the other thing as well, which is super important, like it's also the fact that we will not do it that way for every employee that leaves the company. Yeah,
Right.
and also being okay with that. It's also what normally concerns us a lot when we make decisions, I think, is that, can I repeat this? Is it repeatable? And then going to yourself, does it have to be? Yeah, can I
Yeah.
tell the right story? That's why it was like that for Anika, and this is why it's different for someone else. Can I tell that story? And do I sleep well at night knowing that it's slightly different for different people, etc. So yeah, I think culture definitely eats strategy for breakfast, but I also think because most of us are looking for strategies that have already been delivered somewhere else.
Yeah.
Most of
No.
us are looking for someone to give us the pathway, like give us the
Yeah.
copy paste. And the reason why culture is better than strategy is because most strategies are not replicable. If they were, startup founders would have 50 companies, they would all be great. It just doesn't exist. And we have such a default mindset to kind of learn how someone else did it so that I can do it the same way. What we can do though is we can learn how other companies did it, but to inspire us to do it our own way. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
that's the culture element. And um I think in the people that I've worked with is to just constantly try to remind them that they can do it a way that's like brand new. It's never been done before. Like it's
100%.
it's okay. Like be brave. Be brave. It's
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
and I think that's the cultural side of it. And I even laugh with Anika that I think I really hope that she takes that to her new role, because
Right.
it will be hard. New people, new expectations. We always did it that way. There's a lot of that out there in the world, right? And having the
Yeah.
guts to go like, okay, cool. Well, we're not going to do it that way today. It's
Yeah.
it's that's the cultural thing that I think that I have, and I really want everyone around me to have, kind of thing. And I've
Yeah.
I've learned that from the best as well, by the way. This is not something I've learned. I've been very lucky to work in a lot of organizations when I've gone, I have this crazy idea, and my bosses have gone, okay, go do it. And I know that's not so common. Yeah, that's also that's something that is. But um, like sneaking away from the original question a little bit, I get a lot of people that also think that this is now a place of privilege, which it is. I'm a C-level person in an organization with my experience. So when I have an idea, it's very hard to say no to me, but I have to convince people. Yeah, I was like, yeah, I was like that at 25 as well. I always had that side of me, that I would be like, yeah, I'm not gonna. My mom won't be listening to this. But if she was, she would be like, she reminds me that I was always a rebel. Like I would
Mm.
always hate. I was the poster child for reverse psychology. If
Mm.
you tell me to do
Interesting.
something, my first thought process would be no. But
Mm.
if you ask me how to do something, I would be very engaged and so on. So it's definitely the mindset and culture that I like to surround myself with.
Yeah. I think what you're saying is something I've noticed a lot is people are just looking for permission. When you talk about strategies, is that acceptable way of doing it? And a lot of that, what ends up happening is that you do a second rate or a third hand copy of something somebody has already done. And
Yeah,
this is where like the originality comes into play, especially in the world of AI, because it's just going to be a lot of the recycled stuff over and over again. And folks start to feel like you talked about buying a cake. Could you do that? Yeah, I mean, it's great. It's a great gesture, but is that something original? Does that showcase to that talent leaving that, hey, is this gesture worthy of the 7 or 8 plus years that you have actually spent at this organization trying to build that up from the ground? So I do think that the rebellious side of things does have that kind of extra value add for
Yeah,
the most part.
I think there's a huge power in unexpected. I think there's a
Mm,
huge power in
well
unexpected.
said.
And I believe in that. I mean, like you said, someone if you're leaving a company, you know that something is coming. You know that there is going to be some gesture of some kind. So
Yeah,
if it's me who's in charge of the gesture, I have to make it unexpected. But in the
right.
same way that I said this to Mike, like how many of us in December will receive things in the post from vendors, from customers, from employers who are like, "Merry Christmas, thank you so much," and you go, "Oh, thank you," but I expected it. But you
Right.
send something to someone in March or in end of January when we all have the post Christmas and New Year blues and it's dark and so on, it will have a totally different effect on someone. So
Yeah.
it's always I always try to create like the unexpected, and it's
Right.
different from a surprise, but it's definitely somewhere in the same range that I say this as well, like even with employees, like so if you're going to give someone a pay rise, there are so many businesses out there that are like, I'll wait for the employee to ask for the pay rise and then I'll decide.
Right. Yeah.
The power of giving someone a pay rise before they ask for it is phenomenal. It's exponentially better for that person that they wait. Oh, I didn't have to beg for it. I didn't have to stress about it. So again, I think sales and sales
Yeah.
marketing and working with teams, if you can create the unexpected, I always think it has a bigger effect.
Yeah. It's gonna pay tenfold. Um, so I was prepping for this and trying to
Hmm.
figure out, questions to ask. And your LinkedIn headline, it kind of popped out to me. It's unique because it says dad, trying to do cool work stuff so I can spend more time being a dad. That's pretty much the opposite of any and every growth leader, uh, primarily on LinkedIn that you hear about, grinding 80 hours a week and working your butt off. Like, how do you pull that off?
No, I mean it's a great question. I think as well it's so the first thing is that it's like it's the truth basically, and I think that's also kind of a different and it wasn't always the case for me for sure. But I know I woke up like I think I changed it maybe 4 or 5 months ago, and I was just like this is like if I want people to judge me, they can judge me on this. So like you said, if someone was like, oh, we're starting a new startup, I need that 996. I need a guy who's going to drive sales. Mick is the guy. I want him to get to my LinkedIn and go, oh wait, no, maybe he's not. But no, I mean, I think that the key thing is like, yeah, I've never been more like tapped in, enjoying parenthood. I love it now for whatever reason that is the case. And I did get into this thing, and again, it's also this mindset that I truly believe helps overall, which is um you for me I like working. Some days are good, some days are difficult, but it is to tap into being a good dad, a good family member. That's where my mindset has to be long term at the end. Yeah, so if I'm going to grind out a few days or do extra nights to make a little bit more revenue for the company or whatever it may be, it has to be with that in mind. But it also sometimes has the opposite effect where I go like, I I don't have to do this right now. I can go out and play football with my son, or we can do something else, or whatever it may be. I'll go watch my older son have a soccer match, let's say. So it's I think that sometimes there is this level of pressure and anxiety that we will always have in our
Yeah.
business. We are doing things that have never been done before. So this idea of like we all set P&Ls and forecasts and targets for a year, but it's at the best case it's hopeful thinking, right?
Yeah.
This is what we got to do. So what I mean by that is that yes, you can be under target, over target, whatever it may be, but I truly believe that it's not that last 5% that gets you over the line.
Right.
In fact, for me, closing my laptop, going whatever, it will be fine anyway. We can micro analyze this conversion rate from this landing page to
Oh my God.
MQL
Yes.
for days, and I used to do it.
Mm.
And then I always tell this story. You freak out about a conversion going down, and then 4 days later it comes back up by itself, and no,
Mm.
you didn't actually do anything. So it's also this ability to say, like, maybe I'm not so important. Maybe it doesn't matter if I put that 110 versus 90 versus 80 versus 95. What matters is showing up every day. And I think that that's different. I see a lot of people that go all in, like, oh, I'm going to sell, sell, sell. And then they drop off the planet for like a week or 2 weeks mentally. And what I like to do is not get myself over that threshold. I
Right.
can perform at 80, 90 consistently, some days 50, but what I don't allow myself to do is to go to that 120, 130, 130% of my capacity, because it's not going to make the difference. So it's a little bit of that. So it's a little bit of everything. But I also said, like, again, every time I hire an employee, I'm like, if you ever miss that kindergarten performance, if you ever miss that, you're for the sake of something to do with work, I'll be disappointed in you. Like, family, health, work, in that order, and you'll be fine. You'll
Yeah.
actually be fine. It will still work out. You can still be hugely successful. So that, but like the other part of that side is that I also think, again, coming back to, we talked about this a little bit with the topic of career. I'm more and more bought in, more than ever, to ride the flows and the waves of things, right? So what I mean
Yeah.
by that is, right now I'm in dad mode, 100% in dad mode. It does not mean that in a year I'll be in dad mode, or in five
Right. Right.
years or 5 years. And I like this now. And I used to think it was weird. It used to be confusing for me that, wait, I was motivated by this before, now I'm motivated by this now. And like, I don't understand. Like, my energy used to be way more higher in the evenings now. And then I'm like, wait, I just need to go with it. Like,
Yeah.
I need to follow what's happening naturally, not fight against it. So I also think, again, my mindset to my career at 25 is, of course, totally different to what it is now. But that's also something I think we should let happen to ourselves and try to match it. So if you wake up one day, or, a number of days, and you're like, wow, like, I just don't, I used to be great in startups, now I'm not. At some point, listen to that,
Yeah.
adapt. Maybe it's time for a change. Maybe it's time to try something different. So I think that's also something that's key. I'm not afraid of changing like I used to be, and
Yeah.
being different.
Yeah, I know this is perfect. I think like it reminded me of something somebody told me very recently. The objective is not to get it on the top of the building; it's to go out of the building. And like your success essentially is the fact that you don't need LinkedIn anymore.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
and I
yeah,
resonate with it. Like 6 months ago, if you asked me, "Hey, you wouldn't have a job or you wouldn't be working," I'd say you're crazy. And now,
yeah,
frankly,
yeah,
I don't want to go back.
yeah,
I like getting up and dropping my kids off to school. I'm going to their events. I'm dropping them to their friends, playing, like you said, soccer with them. I played Metal Slug with my son on PlayStation
yeah,
yesterday. I
yeah,
don't remember doing that long, for a long
yeah.
time. I
And
think
and
you
and
want
is
life.
is is anything worse? Did anything
Yeah.
get worse? Like, really, on a? That's what I mean. I mean, do you know what honestly triggered it for me was about couple. I heard like a very nice phrase that changed a lot for me, and it was like, um, you never watch the same movie twice because you are different. And I was
Yeah.
like, blew my mind.
Right.
I was like, yeah, it's so true that you are constantly changing. So
Yeah.
it's no doubt that the things that you are experiencing, you're going to feel differently about them, because you are not the same person. So I think that's the key as well, which is, I think, the you can grind. Some days are supposed to be hard, but ultimately, you've got to read yourself a little bit as well, and know that it's okay that you're changing your frame of mind. Like you said, like, some days, I remember that there was a time when I was working at Brand 24, that my work was my hobby, without question. And it
Yeah.
was, but you know how funny it is? I used to question that and think that was bad. Yeah. But if I was
Yeah.
sat on the couch at 9 p.m. and my kids were sleeping or whatever, and I'd be like, what do I want to do? Do I want to watch TV? And I'd open my laptop and I'd be scrolling chats with customers. But at the time, a lot of the vibe you would get from the market is, that's bad for you. Don't do it. But I was like, no, like, this is okay for me right now. It's not painful. It was a very good time for me to do that. And then, but if you ask me if I was going to do that now, I couldn't think of anything worse. And it doesn't mean I'm a worse employee. It doesn't
Yeah.
mean, it's just, It's just highs and lows, waves of different motivations, different things you want to do with your free time. And I think
Yeah.
there will be a time again in my future probably when I'm like, what do I want to do at 9 p.m.? Or I'm really excited about that project. I'm gonna open my laptop, I'm gonna work on it. And I think
Yeah.
it's okay. I think there's no rules, basically.
Yeah. There's no one right or wrong answer,
No.
so to speak, for the most part. I guess I want to stick on this topic just for a little bit longer. You come from the world of ATS, HR. Why do you think, and I do believe that the way you've described your skill set, your history, it's a lot easier for you to adapt. And for some folks, it's just not. Like you said, like
Yeah.
being able to adapt on your feet is one of the critical skills you're going to have as a salesperson,
Yeah.
for the most part, or any entrepreneur really. You need to be able to adapt. But I guess like why does that hustle or like grind and work your butt off, this 996 culture we talked about, get perpetuated so much? Why is it something that people admire for the most part?
Yeah, I think I mean, I think there's a couple of things behind it. I think there's one side of it which is a little bit more skeptical, which is this is what this is what your investors want you to do. You know,
Hmm.
if in doubt, yeah, if we're in doubt of if someone can deliver something or not, one
Hmm.
thing we've been taught is that do more. At least do more. If I'm not sure this person can do it better, let's at least hope they can do it more. And
Oh,
so I
that's
think
deep.
we've always thought about this. It's like, again, one of the things we come from sales, right? We've been in sales, and one of my core interview questions is, and this is a cheat code for anyone that wants to apply for a job with me in the future. I will always ask you, what did you do when you were behind target? And the amount of people that answer, oh, you know what I did? I worked more. I did more calls. I did more things. I made it happen. And I was like, no, like what I really think you should do is first of all, just hit pause and think, why? Why am I not doing that? But again, why do we also admire and get into this more work, 996, etc.? It's because we are not willing to reinvent. So if we're not going to reinvent something or create something new, all we can do is do more than the next person. So
Right.
and I think that the hard part about that side as well is that I can't disagree with it. It does work in most
Right.
cases. If you're going to call cold leads, for example, or do email marketing, and you're doing the same as your three competitors, the person that sends the most email, the person that makes the most calls will probably win. They'll probably make a little bit more money, but the conversions will be equally terrible probably. But
100%.
where the cheat code is, where the secret sauce is doing the thing for the first time. And the landscape is so less competitive, not so less expected. But that's why I think we are where we are, is because it's not it is because yes, there are certain elements in place that we we don't trust ourselves to do it better, so we trust ourselves to do it more. Um, and I think that we come from a culture now. I always said this, like when we have a problem, how quickly do we Google the solution versus giving ourselves even a minute to say to our brain, how would you do it? It's insane. We don't do this anymore. We don't
No.
we don't do it. And your brain is full of good ideas. It's full of things. It's
Yeah.
got, from whoever's listening to this podcast from 20 to 40 to 60 years old, your brain is full. It's absolutely full. But what we do is when we're faced with a problem, we go, I'll find out how someone else solved it. Yeah. And the fact of the matter is, if they
Yeah.
already solved it before you, you're probably not going to do it that much better. You're going to be somewhere in the same. So we need to do things differently. It's fun. It's more interesting that way.
Yeah. I think it's the same thing with Google. Now you use ChatGPT or Claude
Yeah.
to be able to get to the answers as quick as possible. I guess like just following up on that and segue into AI, like what do you think that going to be the new social media for us for the most part, where now we're realizing that, hey, it did a lot of damage to us, trying to see how folks are, showcasing their meticulously edited versions of their lives. Is that how LLM or so excuse me AI is going to play a role as well, where we're not thinking for ourselves. We're not, like you said, being brave or trying different things. And we are looking for that comfort of, can you give me that permission to go ahead and do that? Only the difference now is that we're not asking people or Google or Reddit. We're now asking a AI for us to be able to get that permission to go ahead and do something.
Yeah, I think I think we will be deceived into thinking that this is more of our thought process included. When actually it's not. It's just putting a really nice sentence instead of a list of 10 links. Yeah. So, and don't be wrong, I think AI is great for that. I think the way that it communicates ideas and makes it feel like you're part of the conversation, it's probably better. It is probably better in that respect, but ultimately it's still deciding for you. It's still saying here are three ways you can do it in the same way that Google would present you with three top links. Yeah. I think that's still the thing. I think it's still the topic of we have to remember, at least for today, the way AI works is it's still based on the data that it has access to.
Right.
Which means if it's giving you an answer, it means that someone has already done it. It's not going to give you a new way to do something for the first time ever. So this is even if I ask it what's the best place to go and travel, it's going to go and look through the reviews. It's going to go and look. It's going to troll all the. It can only work with what it's got. Yeah,
Right.
and so again, I still think, and my team do it now, and I totally understand it. It's like, okay, well, how can we solve this problem? Okay, well, ChatGPT said we can do it like this, and this, and don't be wrong, some of those are like, okay, cool, but it's still giving us the like the best most popular answer,
Yeah.
which for me is concerning. Yeah, because I think again, you if I went to chat to you, oh, okay, I've got an interview coming up with Syed. What would be a cool thing to say? That's not what you want. That's not actually what we want as human beings. In my
Yeah.
experience, we want real, we want authentic, and we want it to be about me. We want it to be real right now. Yeah. So
Yeah.
as soon as something is packaged or created en masse, it loses some kind of power, of course. So
Right.
so I think overall, I think AI is better for me because I will still be able to stand out more than ever. So
Mm.
I'm very happy about it as an individual. I think
Mm.
it might almost uh, career proof my last 20 years in this industry, hopefully, because I do think what will happen is that we it's only going to create less creativity,
Right.
and that can simply I do understand the logic of like, well, yes, if you have an idea now, AI can help you create it in minutes, and that's okay. Like deliver it to some extent, I get. But let's be honest, how many people are writing in ChatGPT or in AI today? What would be a good startup idea? They're not they want to be an entrepreneur, they want to do something, but they're starting from the wrong place.
Yeah.
Like let your own passion and creativity drive the idea, that maybe use AI to help you deliver it and bring it to market, but don't start so early into what should I do. I think that's where it gets a little bit risky. But my thought with AI is that obviously it's going to stay forever, but the people who will succeed will be the people that either find out how to use AI but still be creative, still do things first, or what I also believe in, that there will be a market in the future which will be, do you want to speak to a real person?
Right.
And that will
Right.
be your USP, which will be crazy. But I think it can happen that way.
Going full circle. It's really amazing. I want to switch gears a little bit. You describe yourself as the co-founder who showed up 6 years late at Traffit. What does that actually mean? Like
Yep.
how do you step into that role without the founder baggage, so to speak?
Yeah, it's a very controversial statement, to be honest, in a way, because I know how people think about it. What I mean is like I'm for now, I'm a very serial number two, number three employee in a company. I think this is my sweet spot. I'm not a founder. I'm not a co-founder. I don't think it fits my mentality. But what I really like to do is come into companies, especially a small stage. So I like to come in companies like between customer 10 and take them to customer 1,000, for example. I think this is where I fit. But what I mean is like, it's funny because at some point I remember being at a conference at Sastra, I think in Europe, and 3 or 4 years ago, and there was a couple of people playing with this late co-founder title. And I think I even thought, oh yeah, that sounds like me a little bit. And then after a few months, I was like, no, I don't. It's not quite right. I think I think being a founder of a business is a very phenomenal, very specific thing. There's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears that goes in, etc. Finding your feet, finding what you want to do. I'm the person that you bring in when you feel like you know what you want to do, and then you want to put gasoline in the tank, kind of thing.
Right.
And so yeah, what I think is also important for people listening, because I think at Brand 24 I had this kind of like, there were co-founders, and I was like, part of the C-level team, let's say, in a small team, not to oversell it. Same thing at Traffit. And I think for me, there's two takeaways here. One is, I don't think I know a founder, a realistic founder, who doesn't appreciate someone coming and taking responsibility in their organization. This is
Right.
what I do. I don't come
Mhm.
in with results. I don't come in with some formula, some playbook that I have over the years. What I come in is, and I'm like, okay, give it to me. I'll do that. I'll do that. But what I'm really saying is, and this is I'm saying that when I screw up, because I screw up all the time and I make mistakes all the time, I'm still saying it's on me. And I
Mhm.
think that's what a lot of founders are looking for when they are hiring in their organization. So even if
Right.
you're a junior in a company now, or in a let's say in a startup or a scale up, what's going to progress you a lot is saying, give it to me, in my opinion. That's the key. That's what I do when I come into an organization. The second thing, of course, is I come in with confidence. Yeah, I'm coming in saying, like, it's impossible for a founder who's so close to a business to see things with a little bit of perspective. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you get to come in and do that. But I think that's the side of it that matters the most. Is it's not you're not be I'm not a co-founder, and I think it would be rude. I've learned over years that it would be rude to even consider myself like that. But what I do is I come in, and I can say, I missed this part of the journey, but now you can rely on me. You can rely on
Right.
me like a co-founder. Yeah, you can
Yeah.
rely on me like and again, the other thing to know is that this is not a grab. This is not like, I deserve to be called co-founder, because a lot of people thought that when you come out with these terms like late co-founders, oh, well, I think it's, what we've got to remember is, if you approach it from your CEO's perspective, and you think about, what can I do to make my CEO's life better, a little bit easier, a little bit more successful, they will welcome you in. I truly believe that that's the
Yeah.
case. Yeah, like that the co-founders, the founders or co-founders, they want people to come and share the burden with them. But
Mhm.
the last part is, which I think helps a little bit as well, is you still get to have one foot as an employee, and
Right.
that helps with perspective as well, a lot. I mean, I've been very lucky to work with some fantastic co-founders, especially Michał Sadowski at Brand 24, Adrian Vorlak here at Traffit. But when you found a business, it's a little different emotionally.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
really want people to feel on a very specific level connection to your business. You want them to look after it like it was their own, etc. And I get to also be a little bit like, hey, listen, yeah, I know that's what we want people to do, but let's be realistic.
Yeah.
Let's be
100%.
realistic. I,
Yeah.
I still get to know how it is. Like I said, Anika, a great employee for 7 years, said, she came to us one day and said, like, I found another job. It's time for me. I was able to be like, it's the perfect time for you. It's
Yeah.
what a great choice for you. Like this, I totally get it. I got to look at it from an employee perspective, where
Yeah.
some founders are like, you can't do this to me. Yeah, you can't do this to
Right.
us. Yeah, my business is so close to X or Y or Z, and I get to go, hey, listen, like, let's be realistic.
Yeah.
Let's not be too emotional in the topic. So that's what it means. But I think, yeah, to kind of a very long answer to your question side is like, what I mean is, I come into companies and ask for responsibility.
Right.
That's the key. That's where I and I like that. I like coming in and saying, what do you need from me, kind of thing. And
Mm.
that's where it builds up.
Mm. Yeah. It's interesting you say that. I think a lot of the HR is so broken. I've had, of course, people leave my team, and my only reaction always has been, man, I hope it works out for you. And the only way
Yeah.
this is all worth it if you knock that opportunity out of the park. And they're so
Yeah.
surprised by the reaction. It's because
Yeah.
that's not the traditional reaction you would from a manager. Like you said, they
Yeah.
take it personally. And that's where, when you start to blur these lines, is when things get really murky and trouble brews. I think, for the most part.
Look at the keyword you just said. It's unexpected. Yeah, we come back to this circle of like, some
Right.
of the basic things is, it's
Mm.
unexpected. Yeah.
Right,
Again, I
right.
said this. It's like my job of anyone that I'm like, if I do my job correctly at Traffit, my employees should get more job offers
Oh
because
yeah.
they will be getting better with me by
Mhm.
default. They are more valuable on the market. So if you're sat there and you're like, I don't want my employees to get more job offers because then I'm going to have to replace them. Well, by default, you're slowing your own growth. Like it's there's no, you can't have both. You can't have employees
Mm.
getting better, but have high retention rates from them. Like it doesn't exist. So what I always say is like I'm supposed to make you more attractive on the market. Then it's my job to follow you and keep making you
100%.
feel rewarded. And there will probably be a time and case in the future that my reward will not match your value, and you'll have to change. But
Yeah.
that's the game. That's the way it
Yeah.
is. Yeah, that's how it goes.
I guess like the one thing about jobs that folks need to understand and normalize is that these are all stepping stones.
Yeah,
And folks have lives, they will have new opportunities, new challenges. You said it yourself that right now you feel like you're not working at 9 p.m. when your kids are asleep, but back then you did. Similar to that, you
yeah,
might like working at Traffit, at Hubstaff, at Twitter, whatever. And a year from now, maybe the reward is not aligned with your expectations anymore. You move on. Things change quite a lot. The
yeah.
important
And
thing is
and
to normalize it.
and yeah, and let's, even if we zoom out from those processes for a second, to be, you've got to also be realistic. I mean, I heard this great, there was a great talk that was at the same event in Barcelona recently, which was again, how do we realistically imagine that the person that takes us from customer 50 to 500 is the same person to take us from customer 1000 to 5000?
Right, right.
It's such a different skill set. Yeah.
It
It's
is.
it's it's
It is.
like asking a Formula One driver to then go and perform in MotoGP on a motorcycle. Yeah, they're both fast. They both have engines. No, come on, like, and that, again, doesn't it take, it took the pressure off me when I went,
Mhm.
like, when I left Brand 24. One of the reasons was I was like, I'm not the guy who's going to take you to the next level that you need.
Right.
I know it. I feel it. And and I actually probably think I was right because they've gone on to do great things. But knowing your sweet spot, knowing what motivates you, knowing where you want to be and everything. And again, we catch ourselves being so unhappy in work and we don't zoom out and think, wait, was this the job that I had in the
Yeah.
beginning? Or wait,
Yeah.
the company's been acquired. Or wait, we doubled the price of the features.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, and so many things have moved, and we are then putting pressure on ourselves that we are still
Yeah.
not performing in the same way, when maybe you need to go find the next job in the company that's in the same stage where you perform best, and
Yeah.
take the
Yeah.
pressure off yourself a little bit.
Yeah. There's plenty of fish in the sea, right? At the end of the day, and having that kind of clarity and a north star, so to speak, I think really helps you have that internal peace, both at work and outside of work, which is critical. Um, Nick, I want to ask you something. You're one of when I think of Polish tech SaaS scene, like and the goats, I think of you, and you've been here since 2009. What's changed, and what's frustrating things that are exactly the same?
Um. Oh wow, it's a big. I mean, yeah, I think the scene is, it's 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 very interesting. I've always thought that, again, and I still think that, let's stay with what's the same, if I can. I think what's the same is that I think that the level of confidence, the level of risk is still lower than it could be. And I think that's still something that it's made, what I think it's given Poland is, it's given Poland a lot of profitable small to medium businesses, because the Polish ecosystem is very good at making smart choices, calculated choices, etc. And I think that's really important. That's great, and I think that's helpful for the ecosystem. But what I still think is it's very conservative. It's still a little bit safe. It's lacking a little bit of confidence. And I always like, the easiest way to describe this is like, the question is more always been like, why should we do that rather than why shouldn't we do that? Yeah, why not instead of why? Yeah, we don't have that vibe yet here. But I think there's a I think there's a myth as well, which is when I came to the Polish system. And it's so ironic because I was on a meetup 2 weeks ago in Gdańsk, and somebody said it's the same thing, where they were like, "Oh, Poland has great developers, but it just doesn't have a lot of talent in sales and marketing yet."
Go to market, yeah.
And I'm not so sure that it's true. I think it's just a case of the culture that is created in the organizations. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think
100%.
one thing I believe, and again, I think tech people would kill me for saying this, but I'll say it anyway, which is I think we've got to remember that again, what building great technology, a lot of that work is you put the work in and you end up with an output at the end. Yeah.
Right.
It can have bugs that needs to be fixed, but you put the effort in, you create the code, you create the workflows, and you'll come out with a product. So it's very much an industry that the output can be matched by the hard work that you do. In sales and marketing, you can work your ass off and end up with zero. It's not a effort in, effort results out game,
No.
right? It's not. There's too
Yeah.
many equations in the middle. And what I think we lack in Poland is that ability to first of all accept that scenario,
Yeah.
accept that things fail, because we are still a little bit afraid of failing. Failing is still a frowned upon thing, when actually what we should
Right.
do, and we should celebrate our failures, because we just learned another way how not to do something finally. So I think that they're the consistents, they're the things that we still see. But what I do see a little bit more is I'm really happy to see that the Polish ecosystem is thinking bigger and bigger and bigger.
Right.
I think we have less and less Polish focused SaaS than we ever had before, especially when that are being built. So at least we are building for the
Global
worldwide,
market.
global
Yeah.
expert, which I think is a really good positive thing. What's really nice is when I started in the sector, the idea was the only way to grow internationally was you had to go live there. And I was in the
I recall.
I was in the age of like founders would go live in the valley for 6 months, 9 months, 12 months. That was like
Mm,
just the only way to do it. Yeah. And some did it
mm,
successfully, some didn't.
mm.
And now what I like to see is, and I'm still a big believer in this, is that you can have local teams selling globally. Someone asked me, I talked about this somewhere recently, where I was like, most Polish people I know in the tech sector have better English than me, without
Yeah.
question.
Mm,
Without question, language is not
mm.
the problem. There are
Yeah.
some very hardworking Polish people that are willing to work and talk to people on the call based in California at 9 p.m. It's not the problem. You don't need to
100%.
be. Why go pay 3 times more for a person, 5 times more for a person in the
Right.
valley? But where we are still catching up is understanding the mindset, understanding the psychology behind different
Right.
people. I meet a lot of Polish people who go like, oh, like I just can't. Americans are so fake. They are so cheesy. And I'm like, they are, but it doesn't matter. Yeah. Isn't
Mm.
it better to fake being positive than to be
Yeah.
real and not be? And
Yeah.
it's that. So I still think it's like language first,
Mm.
psychology and culture is catching up as well. But no, I'm super happy with some of the. I think like companies in Poland now, like Zoe, like Tidio,
Right.
Doc Planners, etc. Even when I think about the live chats, the Brand 24s, etc. Um, I think that they have huge potential. I think they're doing the right things. I think we are back on the map, which is also really really positive. So I think that we still need some confidence. We still need
Right.
to. We're still missing that. Also, I think we talk about a lot. We're still missing that influx of founders becoming angels and companies churning out 5, 10, 6, 7 millionaires at exit, who then come back into the ecosystem and build startup number 2, 3, 4. There's
Right.
a couple of founders out there who I think are great, but after 15 years are still on company one. And I'm like, go do it again. Go
Right.
do it again from day one with
Yeah.
all those lessons learned. Go do it again.
Right.
But
Right.
they feel so emotionally attached to
Yeah.
their
It's
first
comfortable.
businesses. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I
Fair
think
enough.
that's what Poland hopefully will have soon. We are seeing some great people, like, if you don't know, like Tomek Karwatka is really
Mm.
leading the way with this topic now of being an
I read the
angel,
book.
a reinvestor. Yeah, the book's
Yes.
just come
Yes.
out.
Yeah. Yeah. The
So
five.
so yeah,
Right.
this is what Poland needs. That's how it changes. It needs a little bit more of that, I think.
100%. I do want to ask you one thing, Mick, because
Yeah.
very recently I attended an event in Wrocław. Thank you. You
Hmm.
recommended it. The Grow meetup. And I was talking to Basha. I was talking to Victor, folks who actually host that event. I was a big fan of Pipeline Summit. It
Hmm.
was one of the big sales events in Poland. You shut it down in 2020. I guess I want to get to the question of what does that tell us about the Polish sales growth community? Because I'm trying to look for it somewhere.
Okay.
I don't find it per se. So you talk
Yeah.
about startups, you talk about the tech scene, you talk about, hey, there's so many founders here people can learn from that they can, pool their knowledge, push that in there, and folks will grow.
Yeah.
Well, do we what does that tell us? Do we have that? If people are saying that, there's no go-to market players here in Poland, it's not truth, but the fact that we're not on the map per se, that's a cause of concern for me for the most part, because I love paying back to
Yeah.
my community. So I wanted to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean it's a good topic. Yeah, I mean again, Pipeline Summit is I mean I people probably talk to me about this about once a month ever since. And I love this event, to be honest. It was such a it was such a good time for me. And again, it was born out of the fact that, like, first of all, it was this frame of mind. There was a couple of Americans that came over to one of the local events and they were reporters from TechCrunch, and they were like, "Oh, Poland is terrible at sales and marketing. Poland is this, that." And I was like, "Cool. Now what? Are you going to help, or are you just going to criticize?" Yeah, like I don't like. I always like action and reaction. Yeah, so basically, I was like, okay, well, the first thing we've got to remember is, well, if we keep only learning from ourselves, if Polish people only learn from Polish founders and Polish founders only
Mm,
learn from Polish founders, why would the cycle be any better? Why won't we
right.
change? Yeah. So the first thing I wanted to do was I wanted to bring new names in, new faces in,
Yes.
and also show them Poland. And we I mean, I'm still proud of this to this day, that like Steli FD came from close.com and
Yeah.
so on. Like, we had some phenomenal names that just popped up and said, "Yeah, Poland, that sounds crazy. Let's do it." Yeah.
Mm,
No speaker fees, etc. But I think the reason why Pipeline, I mean, the fact is it's twofold, to be honest. One thing with Pipeline was that, like I said, I lost my ability to focus on it as a side gig. And it was
right.
that time in life where it was like, right, we're either going to go all in on this, or I'm going to keep going at Brand 24 at the time. And I went to the Brand 24 side. And I think that's okay. I think it's
Yeah, of
okay.
course.
These things don't have to be forever. But this is coming back to your previous question as well, which is, I think that Poland has a huge um, identity crisis right now in the market. And again, this will piss some people off, what I'm about to say, but it's
Mm,
because the fact is that um, I think that as a culture and a country versus what we want to do as an industry and as a vision for the society, which is, we still very much confuse what language means to us. Yeah. So what I mean is, like, we at Pipeline Summit, we would always max out a certain number that we couldn't get across. And I know that it was mostly because the conference was English speaking, right? Which I get.
right.
No, we live in Poland. We understand that,
Yeah.
like, and I'm not saying that anyone in Poland should ever have to speak English. It's not the
Of course
case
not.
here. But I see still, in, like, even in some business leadership, they they think that if they move to more English speaking in culture in the business, in the way that they do things, that it's somehow losing, or it's disrespectful to to Poland. And I'm trying to explain the fact that, because even with me, I'm a big advocate for, like, let's do this in English. Not And everybody will instantly think that, oh, it's because it's easier for you, right, as a foreigner. And it's got nothing to do with how, like, you want to go be big in the US, you want to sell to America, you want to sell to the UK, you want to
Yeah.
sell to, even you want to sell to Romania, whatever it may be. Like, it's how do you have that inclusion? How can you expand on that if you're
Yeah.
not doing that? Yeah.
Mm,
And again, I know people that I see on the Polish event scene all the time, but they've never been to a conference in the States and listened to a
yeah.
different voice with a different mentality. So I think that was what I think there is still a market for something like Pipeline. And I think for two different reasons. One is, we need to keep getting fresh ideas.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
not fair to expect, and again, this is not the fault of the speakers, but you cannot expect Stefan Batory, Michał Sadowski, they can't come every year and have something mind blowing for you.
Yeah, it's
They
not
have
gonna happen.
they have one business. They have
Yeah.
they've one release of experience, and they're not going to change that many things all the time. Yeah. So, but again, it's like even for me, I spoke at an event recently in Rzeszów last year, and I was like, oh, that's cool. And I went there, and it was like billed as like a European event for Ukrainians, for Polish, for Czech, anyone that was fantastic. And I gave my presentation, and they did live translation services, which I think is first class. I
Fantastic.
know that's not cheap. Great. So people could listen in whichever language they wanted. And then the next speech was from a really cool Polish person that I was like, I want to listen. And I went, oh, can I grab a headset? And they were like, oh, no, we don't translate the other way. And I was
Mhm.
like, we've got to, like, with some, because again, I don't know if you've seen this lately. A lot of people even are comparing like the European ecosystem to the US ecosystem.
Right.
And they're like, why does US have more, the top 10, 20, wealthiest businesses in the world, more startups? I was like, because we are so limited in Europe by the different languages. We are so
Yeah.
limited by this, in my opinion. In
Mm.
my opinion, yeah, I don't
Mm.
think it actually has benefits versus the things that it lacks. So coming back to kind of the original topic about pipeline was that, I still think there's a need for it. I still think there are lots of people out there that want to hear new voices, etc. And yeah, who knows? Maybe we'll bring it back. I mean, COVID changed a
2.0.
lot with the event space as well, but I think as an industry, I was great. I also went to the growth meetup in Wrocław, and it was obviously it's a really nice intimate group, 30, 40 people, but they did it all in English, at least for the one that I went to, and I
Yeah.
was like, this is the future. Yeah, this is the future. Is anyone offended in this room? Is anyone afraid? Did anyone not get the message that the speakers had because it was in English? No, everyone was
Yeah.
okay. And I'm really happy to see that's coming through. And I think we need to remember that switching something from Polish to English is not, it's not being disrespectful to Poland.
Yeah.
It's not. It's about the fact that, well, where is our market? Where is our mindset? How can we explain that in a different language? So yeah, but I still have sweet spot for pipeline. I still think that there was something there, but that was a good sign of the fact that I didn't really have any experience on event management. I could
Yeah.
find
Yeah.
speakers. I like sales. I like talking, but the running
Mm.
events is a bigger fish.
Well, if you ever decide about restarting it, I'll be the first one in the line to buy the ticket. I think it was a fantastic thing. Maybe you don't have to do it at that scale, maybe something similar to Growth Meetup,
Sure.
but I do think there's a lot of value in it. And of course, you running it, you did a fantastic job. I know we're coming towards the closing. I do want to ask about your podcast. And I guess it's kind of like broken down into multiple different ways. Your podcast is called The Alpaca in the Room,
Yeah.
where, as I said in the beginning, you see what everyone thinks, but nobody says. So let's do that here. What's the biggest thing the Polish tech companies are doing wrong that nobody wants to admit, other than the fact that we have identity crisis?
I think, the idea that comes off the top of my head, which would probably be different tomorrow when I've had time to think about this kind of question, is I think we are just trying to follow the playbook. I think it's the biggest mistake we make. We create a piece of technology, and then we are reading those. What's the four things you should do? SEO, PPC, homepage,
Yep.
tagline. We are just doing the basics. And what I think we do too much is we don't think about the users. So
Oh,
I
that's
give you a
smart.
nice example of that. We've got this. I'll even use Traffit as a nice example. And one of our core user audience is mostly recruiters. Yeah, mostly recruiters. So I said to my team, I was like, "What's the biggest? Like, what are these people like concerned about the most right now? What's their biggest fear?" And the answers we got. And I actually think my team are still really good at this. And it was like, they're worried that they won't fill the roles. They're worried
Right.
that they won't get enough candidates, etc. And I was like, no, I don't believe it. And they're like, why? What do you think it is? I was like, they're worried they are going to get fired. Yeah. They're worried they're going to lose their jobs to AI, to
Right.
financial freezes, etc. They're like, I think we've got to get better at actually realizing what people care about.
Right.
What do
100%.
people genuinely be motivated about? Because coming full circle to the whole maybe episode, which is, how do we do sales? It's like we tap into what people feel and are motivated by it. And I'm sorry, most people are not motivated by your feature. They're not even motivated by what your feature can do. They're really motivated about how your feature affects their individual scenario. And I remember a Brand 24 a few years ago where we were very cost effective. And if we were talking to a CEO or a founder, I could talk about the values, the ROIs, etc.
Yeah.
And then an unexpected lead came through from a nuclear power plant somewhere in the US. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And it was a lady in the PR team talking about this. And I was like, oh, and I had to, like you said, okay, I have to think about this because I'm like, it's not her money. And if she saves that company money, she's not going to get even probably a pat on the back. And my pitch switched to, this is definitely going to get you your next promotion. And it changed, that connected to her because she didn't care about the company saving money or spending money. She cared about how it affected the person. And I still think in Poland, we've got, like I said, we've got to remember that the technology by itself is rarely enough. Rarely. I'm not going to say 100%. Sometimes I'm sure that good tech just will override all marketing strategy. But what I would say is we need to think about how people really, really care about things. Yeah. Another example, and I don't think they'll. I remember we talked at LiveSpace about how to go to market to a new country, and one of the ideas was, okay, what we'll do, we'll offer like you can buy the CRM for $1 a month for the first 3 months, and I was like, why? And they're like, what do you mean? I was like, do you think the price is the reason why people buy or don't buy CRMs? And we want to make the decision easy for them. I was like, yeah, I get the logic, but you're not thinking about the mindset. If I came to you today and said, okay, like here's a tool you don't need and it's only going to cost you $1, would you buy it? Well, no, because I don't need it. Yeah. In the same way that if someone came and said, oh, I've got a Porsche outside, but for you it's 100 zlotys. Oh, most of us these days are like, so what's wrong with it? We're skeptical. We're skeptical of low prices more than ever. Yeah, because we're skeptical. So again, just spending more time thinking about those elements. What I do and what I believe what you do, buddy. We are not rocket scientists. We are not. We are just have enough experience and enough time and mentality to think, what does this person really need? What do they want? And how do they want me to say it to them? Yeah. So this kind of thing. I think that's what Poland needs more than ever.
Okay. I got you. Thank you for that. I guess the second part of this question, can you talk a little bit about, for those of you who don't know your podcast, what is it about? Or where did you come up with the idea from?
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely crazy, which I think probably starts with most of my projects. But yeah, with Janina Bach is my co-host. And the podcast was born out of the fact that Janina once posted on LinkedIn that she wanted a native English teacher to practice her conversational English.
Oh, right on.
And I popped up and I said, hey, listen, I'll do it with you, but we're not going to do, like, I'm not a teacher. Let's talk, but I think if me and you talk and we record it and post it, it's going to be super funny, whatever we say. And I didn't even know Janina before then, really. I know who she was, but we'd never met. And she said, cool. And then, to be honest, the long story short is that, again, we have so much content available to us online of marketing, sales, growth, etc. And I thought to myself, how many do we listen to because we have to, versus how many are fun? How many do I enjoy listening to? Yeah.
Right.
And I thought to myself, like, okay, well, listen, again, we are not going, me and Janina, I think Janina is phenomenally smart individual. And that's why she's so popular. But we are never going to outmarket the marketers that are already on the market.
100%.
That was a lot of marketing in one sentence, but you know what I mean? You know what I mean? Basically, yeah, we're not going to do it better. We're not going to do it better. But what can we do? We can be ourselves. Yeah, we can make it more interesting. And that's the key again. So, it was looking at it and going, how can we be different?
Yeah.
Can we talk about marketing and make jokes? Can we talk about marketing and be crazy? Can we also not talk about marketing in an episode about marketing? How will people react to it, and so on? And that's where it was born. I really like it because, again, probably what makes it different, and we are not in it yet to monetize it. We are not in it yet to make something from it. So we really get to
Right.
take the pressure off. We talked about the share. It's not, we don't grind this podcast. We talk,
100%.
but yeah, it came from the fact that, how many of us are now look at the market. More and more of us are getting back to commuting. More and more people are going back to work. This for most people, because of the beginning, because of where we came from, it's a very painful experience.
Yeah.
And I,
Yeah.
I know people that are, and I was born and raised in Manchester, England, and I was like, commuting to work 80 minutes was each way was standard. And I
Yeah.
was like, I laughed at, I put my iPod on when you used to have to roll the circle, or it was a grayscale screen. But it wasn't painful because I didn't know any different. But now what
Right.
I'm seeing, I'm meeting people who are like, I have to commute to work I have to go to the office 2 days a week, and it's driving me crazy. And I'm like, what's the commute like? Oh, it's 30 minutes by bus or train. And I'm like, okay, so I understand why it's painful. I'm not gonna dismiss the pain. Doesn't matter what it was like 20 years ago, or whatever. It doesn't matter. But if there's a pain, there's an opportunity.
100%.
Anywhere there is pain, there is opportunity. So I was
Mm.
like, my mindset when making the podcast is, what would someone want to listen to take their mind off being on the bus, the train, the car, whatever? Like, what can make it funny? Yeah, what can make it interesting? So that's the area we went to, is can we
Gotcha.
actually give people the odd idea about marketing, about sales, etc., but can we do it in a way that people smile while they listen to it?
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. Last one before we get into the
Yep.
rapid fire. You're talking to a 25-year-old in Poland and who wants to get started in sales or growth. What's the move in 2025? Join a startup, join a scale up, go global, remote, or stay local?
Okay, so realistic answer. Realistic answer. You've got to pay your bills. You've got to pay your bills. I get that. I'm not in that kind of mind where I'm going to be like, go do whatever you want to do, be brave. But what you've got to do is you've got to give yourself an environment to find out how good you are with no restrictions. So the way I explain this to people, ideally, go work in a startup. Why do you want to go work in a startup? Because you've got opportunity and responsibility by the bucket loads. There's lots of stuff to be taken responsibility for that nobody is responsible for. And to give you an example, when I joined Get Response 15 years ago. They were already a multinational company. They already
Yeah.
had 80 employees and not a single salesperson. Yeah.
Right.
So there's opportunity to take responsibility, right? But the second thing as well is you have space and freedom to do it normally. You're not going to get that much micromanagement in a startup because people are busy. People are so ideally that. But let's say you can't find the right startup, whatever. You've got to get a job, and I get that. So try to stay in the field that you want to be. So what I would
Mm.
avoid is, if you're really passionate about marketing, don't go and do customer success. It
Doesn't make any
try to be
sense.
in marketing if you can. But what I always say is, and this is also another pain for a lot of people, they're not giving the freedom. So you join a company that's 300 people, you go, I've got an idea, and nobody listens, right? And we've all experienced this.
Yeah.
Find an outlet for that. You are in the world, go, if maybe you have a family member that has a local business, maybe you want to start your own blog, but you've got to find a place that when you can really practice and really test yourself for what you are good or not good at. So your company, your 300 person employer company is probably not going to let you make videos for YouTube with the brand. It's too
No.
risky. Yeah, they're not going to do it. So what can you do? Go make your own brand. Go do it for someone else. Go do it for free. Go do it for this is a great thing. You think about you talked about Basher's group in Wrocław, Growth Meetup.
Yeah.
That by default has no limitations.
Of
They've
course.
all got day jobs, but if they want to try a different strategy for social media, they make the decisions. Yeah? So what I would say is, you've got to find a place and an environment where you can keep making mistakes. So ideally, it's in a company that matches your mindset. But if it's not, go get your regular job. Sorry, I don't want to disappoint anyone. You go pay your bills, go be financially secure, but then find a secondary outlet out there. It can be your kids' football team. Go run their
Right.
social media. Go set yourself the goal of, like, I'm gonna go raise 10,000 zlotys in sponsorship for them. I'm gonna practice my business development skills.
Of
Why
course.
would the local barber sponsor the football team? So that's the way that I look at it. It's like opportunities everywhere, but don't get to a point where you have a ceiling above yourself and
Yeah.
you're like, I wish I could do that, but I can't. No, that excuse doesn't exist. You just got to find an outlet for it.
Yeah, Mike, this is super insightful. So we're on to the rapid fire round. It's something that I love asking our guests. So like a bunch of questions, super short answers. Best advice you've ever received, business or personal?
Oh, you get to decide. You get to decide what is a close lost. Best
Mm,
advice I probably ever got.
yeah,
If a customer says to you, "No, thank you," you don't
nice.
have. You still get to decide what you do next. They don't have
Yeah,
to decide. Great advice for me.
that's awesome. Advice you ignored or wish you had listened to?
Uh, I know it's rapid fire. Okay, come on, Mick.
Oh, you get.
Be bold. Um, Losing isn't winning isn't everything, and that was something from my early days. That's advice that I think is powerful depending on what day of the week it is. Sometimes losing is the best thing you can that you will learn the most from failing, from losing, etc. But I also I still think winners win. I still think it's
Yeah,
good to let yourself be a winner from time to time.
yeah, I got you. What would you tell your younger self, say 7 or 10 years ago?
It will all be okay.
This too shall pass. I got you.
It's yes, you are not as important as you think you
Yeah.
are,
Oh, yeah,
and that's
that's pretty
okay.
cool. Yeah,
So yeah.
100%. One ongoing challenge in your current work that keeps you up at night?
Uh, oh, consistency, like craving the straight line that goes the same way month to month, and
Right.
every month it will be different. Yeah, it still keeps me up. It's still you still got to be thinking long term, short term, same time, and that's a hard one. What's a real fire versus what's a mythical fire that isn't really on fire? But yeah, craving consistency, I think, it is a curse and a blessing at the same time. Yeah, yeah.
100%. Your favorite restaurant, meal, or spot in Poland?
Oh, I, I loved it. I'm going for this one. Like, uh, as of probably a couple of weeks ago, I'm back into shawarma big time. Don't know where it came from. And by the way, like, big up Sphinx. Like, dude, I don't care if there's 100 of them in Poland or 1,000. Like, shawarma in Sphinx, I'm in the zone right now. But it's again with my whole story. Ask me in a month, it will be different. But right now, for some reason, I'm on the shawarma.
There you go.
Absolutely.
One tool or process you swear by?
CRM. CRM, old it, but get those activities scheduled. It will tell you what to do when you have a
Yeah,
good day, when you have a bad day, when you have high energy, low energy. You need a balancer. You need a magnet in the middle of your day that says, "Oh, by the way, David is still waiting for your call." Like CRM, I think is it's old school. It doesn't get the rep it deserves, but I'm still a big CRM person.
100%. Well, Mick, it's been super great. Thank you so much for being here. I do want to ask you, like, where can listeners find you? LinkedIn community, any upcoming project or launch or talk or event that you're excited about?
Yeah, no, I think it's that. No, I mean, honestly, LinkedIn is where I am right now. Again, it's like we talk about this, like, it's like work for me 10 years ago. Like, I stopped feeling guilty about being in LinkedIn. It's my social network now. It's where I hang out. I don't care if it's professional or not. It's okay. So,
Right.
anyone that hits me up on LinkedIn, I'm gonna talk to you all day. Like, no
Mm,
problem whatsoever. Like, I always have time for it. And no, I mean, I'm actually, I'm doing my best to branch out of Poland, trying to, eat my own soup. Next week, I'm speaking in Czech at a HR event, and I
Oh,
like
there
this
you
as
go.
well. I feel like an imposter, but in a good way. Like I'm
Mhm,
sneaking into a different scene that I'm not supposed to
mhm.
be there. So
All right.
I'm a marketer speaking at a HR conference next week. But no, online. If you're in Three City, I always like to grab coffee. Give me an excuse to go to a different city as well. Like, yeah, I'm this kind of person that I really love solving other people's problems because it gives me energy to go back to mine. So
Right.
there's never a bad request, a bad question. Please, anyone that's listening, always happy to connect.
Yeah, Mick, this has been a pleasure. Really appreciate you coming on. Thank you so much. And if anybody got value from this, share it with someone who needs to hear it. See you next week.
Thanks for
Thank you.
having me. Thanks, buddy. Bye.